any other name, Rosewood Manor no longer smells sweet. By the time you read this, it might be gone. These days, when the local development bulldozer is bustling 24/7, the it can be most anywhere, but today's target stands, or stood, in the Esperance neighborhood, an unincorporated donut hole within the city of Edmonds. The building's name, the latest among several, is Rosewood Manor, a stately designation for this neglected 1915 mansion, reached via a circle driveway on the south side of busy 220th Street Southwest and surrounded by mid-20th century homes, a wetland, and tiny Chase Lake. During its recent decay, passers-by often speculated affectionately about its past personas. Today, thanks to Edmonds historian Brad Holden, its span of identities is close to definitive, from base to benevolent, each in its own way humanitarian. Here is a timeline of incarnations from Holden's research. First, a private home from 1915 to 1919, owned by builder Selden Martin, co-owner of Solduck Hot Springs on the Olympic Peninsula. A debut housewarming party drew 50 couples, noted the Seattle Post-Intelligencer. Next, the White Horse Tavern through 1922. The name referenced a stallion that patrolled a pasture out back. Flowing alcohol and emanating ragtime jazz music drew countless Prohibition-style police raids. In one incident, the owner shot an unruly customer with a pistol. Next, Chase Lake Pavilion Tavern, for most of 1922 to 1926, and Olympic Tavern through the mid-1930s. Next, Chase Lake Sanitarium, reputedly a maternity hospital, starting in 1939. Next, Charles Siegel Sanitarium, offering addiction treatment, starting in 1951. Next, Aurora Edmonds Nursing Home from 1961 to the mid-1990s, when it briefly housed Counterpoint Mental Health Services. Next, Church of the Beloved, operated by a Christian fellowship group, starting roughly in 2000. The backyard's elaborate garden hosted weddings and cookouts until 2012, when the site went up for sale. And finally, full circle to a family home starting in 2016. But a kitchen fire soon made the space uninhabitable. Adamant Homes of Mill Creek bought it in October 2022. Holden found no evidence to substantiate rumors that famed Hollywood dog Rin Tin Tin was buried on the site, or that it served as a hunting lodge that drew a visit from President Theodore Roosevelt. Adamant Homes won't return press inquiries, but workers on site told Holden in December that demolition was imminent. Permit documents cite plans to build 7 to 16 so-called single-family detached units there. Instead, Holden, co-author of the 2022 book Lost Roadhouses of Seattle, hoped that Rosewood Manor would be repurposed for low-cost housing or a museum. But he's also realistic, sadly so. It's kind of a crude erasing of our history here. In our first then photo, with an eyelid shed roof, Rosewood Manor, then called Olympic Tavern, stands in 1927 along 220th Street in Snohomish County. It bore a prominent wraparound veranda that later was removed. In our next then photo, to report on a robbery at Olympic Tavern, the Seattle Times on December 5, 1927, augmented a photo with a sketch. In our third then photo, Rosewood Manor operated as Aurora Edmonds Nursing Home in the early 1980s. Today, historian Brad Holden, a 26-year Edmonds resident, stands near once stately Rosewood Manor in late December. And finally, in mid-January, Rosewood Manor was razed.